Part of the creative process is stopping and asking, what if? What if I do this? What would happen if? Because when you do, you will make some exciting discoveries. In the creation of this page, there are several times that I stopped and I asked, what if I did this? Come along with me and I'll share with you what I learned. So I'm starting with this stamp. It's a woodware stamp that I got from NINNYSNAPKINS.com. Now, I wasn't really excited about all the detailing of it, so I asked myself, what if I did something different? So I got out my stamp platform and I stamped several of these angels. Now, if you are a colorer and you like all those details, the stamp is perfect. But that's kind of not the way I roll. So again, I'm stamping out several because once I bring out the stamp press and platform, I just don't want to bring it out again. So I like building something in my stash. So now I've cut it and I decide here, what if I cut just the outline and maybe make a template of this angel? What could I do with that? So I did cut out I put two pieces of paper together and you can see I have the template and the other. Thought, since I don't like all that detailing on the skirt and I am not a colorer, but I love angels, I decided, what if I put modeling paste on there? And that became the pattern. I could use my stencils, use the modeling paste through the stencils. So I grabbed some 6-inch stencils. This one's called Scroll Work. They're all from the Crafters Workshop, and I'll list them in the description box below. And Ninny's Napkins carries a lot of the TCW stencils, as does the TCW Shopify store. So you're sure to be able to find the same ones or ones that you equally like. So I line up the stencil, I tape it down so it doesn't move, and I grab my TCW modeling paste. Oh, looks like I'm going to need another jar soon. I use the palette knife to scrape some out, and then I put it on a key card, which is my preferred way of putting on modeling paste. Now I put it right on top of the stamped image because I know I'm going to paint over this and I'm not going to see any of that line work that's there. So I just lift that up and there's all this lovely texture on the skirt. So excited about the possibilities. Now on the template, I decide, I've got the stencil and it's dirty. I'm just going to put some on there because I figure I can just draw the face on, do my own thing with the wings. So here, I'm just using the outline of the stamped image. So I'm maximizing the use of the stamp and building some variation. I'm also doing a stash builder. I don't like doing just one thing. If I've got a dirty stencil, if I've got out the modeling paste, I want to get more of them. I have no defined idea of how many angels I'm going to use. I just thought, you know what? I've stamped out several of them. I'm going to put modeling paste. This one is Fantangle stencil. I'm going to put modeling paste on them. And what I don't use on this project, I know I'm going to use. I love angels, so that's kind of a no-brainer for me. This stencil is called Knitted Stitching. So I picked 3 different stencils with 3 different patterns. Now I'm going to apply a coat of gesso. It's going to seal the modeling paste, allow it to take paint, and it's also going to knock back some of that stamping that was there, some of those black lines. Because I really don't want to see that. Now this stamp, this angel, I love. It's almost as big as my hand. So it's a good, decent size. And let me tell you, because I asked, what if I put modeling paste on this? I'm going to look through my other stencils, my other large shape stencils, and see if I can do similar kind of things and really maximize the use of my stamps, using them in a different way than they're intended. So I'm going to make sure that this is completely dry before I move on to the next step. So the next step is an Insta background. This is the twisted paper, collage paper, and I'll link that video. I love the colors here. And since I'm spending all this time stamping and putting modeling paste and drying time, I want the quickness of an Insta background. Love the colors. It's going to go well with the angel. I can save time off my creative time, and I'm using something in my stash. So I get out the rotary wheel, the rotary cutter, and I cut a straight line. The rotary cutter with your cutting mat is a great way of cutting paper and getting a really straight edge, super easy. So now I'm going to glue this down, and because this twisted paper is thick, I'm using gel medium and I'm putting it down and I'm working quite quickly, putting a heavy dose on there. But I find that some of it dried before I got this down. I used my brayer, but I'm still struggling to get it all to lay flat. And I think to myself, what if I used my mini iron and the iron decoupage technique? Would that flatten it, make the adhesion work? And the answer, yes. It reactivated the glue, in this case, the gel medium, and made it perfectly flat and perfectly adhered. I love it, and I will be using that again and again when I'm gluing down papers that are a little bit thicker and they're not lying perfectly flat. So now I am grabbing my Winged Wonders sentiment kit, which is great for angels and birds and dragonflies and butterflies, anything with wings. And I'm just auditioning the quotes. What if, would this one work? Would this one work? Do I like the quote? I haven't really firmly decided how many angels I'm going to use. And I want to pick my quote because if it's a bigger quote, I may use less angels. Everything has to work together. So I need to stop and make that decision. So I'm playing with the orientation. I'm not liking as much of the white on there. It's a bit too chunky on the page, taking up too much of a presence. I don't want the sentiment to be the focal image. So I'm cutting off a lot of the white, little by little. What if I cut it down into 3 parts? Is that good enough? Is it giving me the look that I want? And I decide, you know what? I want to bubble cut off a little bit more of that white, especially around the script parts. So when I say bubble cut, I mean I'm just leaving a little bit of white around the letters. In and out I go, and it's still going to make the text stand out, but you're removing a lot of that white. I find that when you bubble cut things, it blends better with your background. But again, this is a personal choice. If you ask yourself, what if? Take that risk, take that chance, do it, try it out. In my experience, most times it works really, really well, but sometimes you're just going to learn something, and that's a win. At this point, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, so I kind of walked away. I took a break, and then I came back and I'm ready to paint the skirts. I didn't want to introduce new colors, so I'm using Prussian blue, which is in the background. It's Prussian blue, light aqua or bright aqua, and dioxazine purple. There's a lot of purple in that background, so I'm going to paint the skirts the Prussian blue and the bright aqua. And I'm getting good coverage, but you can see how wonderful that texture from the modeling paste looks. I love the look. So I'm so glad I thought to myself, what if I put modeling paste on the skirt and had that as a texturized element on my page? Now I'm asking myself, what else, where else can I use this on my focal images? Now I could have cut gel prints and put that on the bottom part of the skirt as an alternative. I could have used part of a masterboard, or I could have put a napkin on the skirt, 3 different colorful napkins. Lots of options. So asking what if, opening that door has given me so many other creative ways or ideas. So here's the bright aqua going on. So the knitted stitching is on the left hand, scroll work is on the right hand, and this one that I'm painting is the Fantangle stencil. I'm adding a little bit more of that pattern in the background now that I know where I'm putting things. So this is the Kaleidescope stencil from the Crafters Workshop. There's also chicken wire reversed in the background, as well as the knitted stitching stencil. So I've used 6 different stencils on this page between the focal image and this. I'm edging with the Prussian blue to frame my page. And I'm just going to put some tape there so that I keep that edge clean. And now I'm going to finalize the placement of my focal image of my sentiment. I want to bring out that texture. So I asked myself, what if I rubbed a little bit of paint on it and brought it out? So here I'm using the Prussian blue. I'm not introducing another color. And look at how it brings out the texture. Loving it. Now on this one, I wasn't sure what color, but I thought, you know what? It's an angel. I want some gold in and on this page. So I get some gold on my Danger blending foam and I rub it on top. And the gold looks so amazing on top of that Prussian blue. Just go with light layers and applying it very lightly, just so the high points get the gold. Love that look. That scroll work stencil works so well with this technique. Putting it on the knitted stitching one, and again, it just, what bling. Which led me to another question. What if I use stencil butters instead of modeling paste? I would have just painted the background of the skirt, whatever color, and then use the stencil butter through the stencil in whatever pattern. I'm cutting off the halo because I'm going to use my fine line applicator later on to paint the halos onto the background. Since I like the skirts without all that pattern, I decide I'm going to get rid of the wings, all that detailing on the wings as well. So here I am giving it a coat of gesso just to get rid of the detailing. I've got so much interest and color in my background. I don't want it competing with the focal image. And I'm thinking more solid colors in the focal image work. And then I'm just painting the face and hands. And then I'm going to paint the hair, I believe. And I decide that I'm going to make a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. So don't be afraid to experiment. That is how we learn and grow as artists and as creators. I really like the redhead, the red hair with the navy. So there are my three angels, and I'm just showing that I could put this one kind of off the edge of a 4x4 canvas and turn it into a fridge magnet, maybe for another project. Here I'm taking gold and painting, or actually, this is Naples yellow. I'm putting a base coat of Naples yellow because gold is very translucent. And then I'll come back and put gold on top of the Naples yellow, and you get all that shimmer and shine and gold color. I'm edging my skirt and hair, and I'll be edging the wings as well. I'm using the floating acrylic technique. It's a technique that I learned when I did folk art painting, and it works so well for shading and adding highlights to my projects. I will link the video where I teach that technique. Um, I highly recommend it. It's a great one to learn how to do because you'll use it constantly. So here I'm coming in with the gold and making those wings shimmer and shine. So by adding the modeling paste to the skirts and the different colored hair, I've personalized and or individualized each of these stamps. So instead of one stamp, I now have three different looks. So now that there's gold on my focal image, I want some gold in the background. So I grab my script stamp. I'm applying gold acrylic paint and just stamping to have just that little bit of gold in the background. I like, if I introduce a color, I want it to be not just in one place. I want it to be in two places. So you can always take an Insta background, a collage paper, and add to it to make it really fit. And then I wanted a little more gold, so I'm splattering and I'm getting a fair bit of my splatter paint on the brush so I get bigger drops because I want them to show. Don't forget to clean your stamps. So I grab iridescent medium and I am just painting that over top of the top part of her body. Some of the lines still show, but it's giving that ethereal, angelic glow. I could have painted her top the same color as her skirt or a lighter color, but I opted this. Again, there is no right or wrong, there's just what you choose to do. I wanted the edge to be a little bit bolder, so I grab black acrylic paint and I edge all the way around. And then I'm edging on the gold of the wings, doing next to the body and just getting a little bit of black. It's a little something, this the shading, but it always makes such a big difference. I can also see using this angel stamp either as it is where you color it or with the the changes that I've made today and gluing them down on a card. Use a gel print in the background and glue one angel down with a nice verse. I'm using the gel medium to glue these down. And I'm holding them in place because I like the way they're overlapping. I like the little angle that they're at. So when you find something you like, I take a picture of it so I can redo it if I lose my way, or just hold it down like I was. Flipping up and putting the gel medium underneath, and away you go. A word about the digital sentiment pack. It is available at NINNYSNAPKINS.com, and they are 100%, you can resize them. You can make them larger if you're doing it on a bigger page, or you can make them smaller. Like if you were putting these on a card front, these angels, you could take that same sentiment and shrink it down to the absolute correct size. And when you buy the digital kit, I give you a link to videos where I teach how to resize them and give you the basics that hopefully you can do in your own home. So you can print them off as many times as you want in whatever sizes you want. Now I grab my Sakura glaze pen in black, and I'm just putting in some of that line work back. It kind of got knocked back when I put the iridescent medium on top. You want to make sure absolutely that it is 100% dry, because nothing kills these fine line pens any more than trying to write on wet paint. And then I do some faux stitching around the wings as well. I do add the halos with my fine line applicator bottle, but that footage was lost. So if you notice the halos in the finished product, that's how they got there. I have close-ups of this page. I hope you like it as much as I do. So next time you think to yourself, what if I don't stop? Do it. Take the risk, experiment, and learn. Oh, here's another option. I could take this TCW stencil and cut off the wings of the stamp and give them a different shape of wing. So many options, so many possibilities, all because I asked, what if?